I wonder if the spotlight is something we chase, or if it chases us like addiction. In the midst of creating, I often find myself reaching outward, as if this moment is just a flicker of life, a lighthouse calling for hope. There are different versions of us scattered across the roads we take, and each path asks us to be bold, but every choice comes with its own fall just as steep as the climb. If you're seeking love, you might only receive it in doses, just enough to keep you fed but never full. If you're hoping to be noticed, it may not be by the eyes you prayed for. And if you want to be heard, you should know your words may still be misunderstood. Authenticity seems to wither with time, and maybe originality doesn't feel as urgent anymore. But still, I wonder, what light are you chasing? That's a question I've been asking myself lately. The why behind everything seems to ripple outward into questions of identity and perception. There's something both beautiful and terrifying about standing at the peak of social media, where it feels easier than ever to be seen, but harder than ever to control how you're perceived. The love feels louder, but so does the hate. Back then, a celebrity could sit down on a talk show to clear things up. Now, with everything instant and everywhere, it's hard to tell what's real and what's noise. And bringing your art into that space requires a new kind of vulnerability. This isn't rehearsal anymore. It feels like I'm front and center, waiting to find out if the world thinks I belong here. People say it doesn't matter what others think, and maybe they're right. But part of stepping into the spotlight is learning that perception is rarely in your control, though the light you choose to chase always is. Welcome to the second episode of The Art of Being Creative. The idea of the episode has a lot to do with something that I've been thinking about recently, especially the idea of stepping into the spotlight and stepping into the spotlight and ultimately being a lot more creative and being less scared in the process. I find that a lot of my shots tend to mean the most when I'm not the main character, right? I think there's certain shots obviously where I am sitting in that hallway and I am reaching outwards and my hand is under this spotlight. But more so, there's other shots where I'm in the grass and I'm wearing this green and kind of camouflage myself in there. Or the shot of the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel is the main point, while then your eyes kind of guide towards the person on the left, which is me shooting with my camera, or the fountain, and a lot of other shots that ultimately complete the idea of this spotlight and the idea of not wanting to be in the front of it if it's not for the best reasons, which ultimately was the idea behind the short that I just created. I think somebody ended up asking me a question. I don't know if I answered it. Hold on. Yeah, how do I film the shots, the lens, millimeter, the aperture, the color settings? So with the color settings specifically, I like a very filmic tone, but I'm also even now trying to explore a lot more vibrant colors and trying to be a lot more specific with mood. Not everything is the color that you choose to film in says a lot about the scene. If it's like, for example, with the grass shot, right? I think that it meant the most that it was a vibrant color tone, and ultimately I think it gives off this feeling of free, and you add a little bit of grain to these shots and it ultimately builds a bigger picture behind it. So the idea of episode 2 is understanding the responsibility that you take as a creator or somebody that's diving into, let's say, making money off of your art. Understand the importance of what it means to be at the forefront of all of that. And yeah, I think the first video that I released was in June. We're stepping into August now. I'm gonna be a lot more consistent with these, obviously. I think it's been hard to shoot because the weather has just been, sometimes for me, if it's just too hot, I don't like to record if it's too hot. I think it's impossible to record shots that I want to take if I'm like dying in heat. And I had to get an ND filter that didn't have a pro mist on it because I like adding the mist or the halation afterwards. I think that allows me more control. But if you do have any questions, I am lucky enough to not have that many viewers now where I can actually answer these questions and be a lot more responsible with coming back and answering it. If I can answer it through the comments, I would. But I think sometimes the visuals is also as important to show you. Because I think when I started looking into how to do certain shots or certain videos, I also needed a visual presentation because that's how I learn. But yeah, episode 2 of the art of being creative. If you guys enjoyed it, I'm glad. If you guys have any questions, just let me know, and I'm out. I'll see you.